Hi, everyone, and welcome to OEM Update, where we talk about everything you need to know about this year's vehicle model lines in order to sell them. My name is Megan Cusick, editor of Motorcycle and Powersports News. Now, for today's episode, we're going to be doing something a little different. If you haven't heard about Verge Motorcycles, there might be a reason for that. It's a fairly new electric motorcycle brand from Finland that has been predominantly selling its bikes directly to customers online. But at the beginning of June, Verge Motorcycles opened its first two stores in the US, in Los Angeles and San Jose, California. So, because we've been covering EVs this month, I thought we'd talk today about the Verge TS Pro electric motorcycle. The TS Pro is the mid priced model for Verge with a starting price of $29,900. So, let's dive deeper into what exactly this EV offers. But for that, we're going to go straight to the OEM source. Joining me today to give us an overview of the TS Pro is Pekka Parnanen, Chief Operating Officer for Verge Motorcycles in the US. Pekka, thank you so much for hopping on to speak with us today.
Of course, anytime.
All right, well, first of all, we welcome Verge to the US. You've been here for, a couple weeks now, or your store opened up a couple weeks ago. How's that been going? What kind of traffic have you been seeing?
Yes, super good to see the enthusiasm what's happening. So we opened up our Century City, Westfield Century City store June 1st and in Los Angeles. And then we open up where I'm at now. It's Westfield Valley Fair in San Francisco Bay Area. So we are kind of in Santa Clara, San Jose area.
Okay, nice. Well, you've got both ends of California covered, that's for sure.
Still missing the super south of California, but we'll get there.
So, for those of our audience who are unfamiliar with the Verge Motorcycles brand, can you give us a brief overview of the company and its journey thus far?
Yes. Verge Motorcycles is from Finland. So that's where the design and engineering is coming from. So it started 2018, and then the idea of Verge was to make the best rideable motorcycle. And when you start looking into that, so of course it's have to be EV motorcycle. And then one of the things in the EV motorcycles is that usually you have still using the same 120 years old architecture that you have the motor in the bottom, and then you have, either like regular motorcycles, you have gas tank on top, but EV motorcycles on top of the motor, you have the batteries. The problem with that is that you have two heat sources next to each other, and you need to have a liquid cooling or something like that. But also one of the things is that you don't have too much room for batteries. And then when you're pushing, the batteries are, weight the most. And if you're pushing that up, so the center of gravity moves up. And that means that the motorcycles are not that nice to ride. They feel top heavy. And from that perspective, you have a, slow speed cornering, feels like it's tipping over, or you have high speed cornering is not that easy to get out from the corners. So we kind of wanted to change that. So what we wanted to do is that, put the batteries as low as possible. So in that sense, where you usually have motor, so that's where the batteries are. And then we also have a lot more real estate for the batteries. And that comes to the question is that, where does the motor go? So there's only kind of one logical place to put it. It's in the back wheel. But if you think about that, hub motors like Vespas and some other, even motorcycles, there's so much power in these super bikes that would not work. So we needed to invent what we call a rim motor. That means that as you can see, the back wheel is hollow. It looks like a donut, right? So it is an electromagnetic motor, which is kind of reversed. So from that perspective, the inner part of the rim is a stator, which is a stationary that does not move. But that's how we hook up the back wheel. and then the outer part of the rim and the wheel that's moving. So that allowed us to get the center of gravity low. Also, a lot more room for batteries, which means longer distance from that perspective. So we have 217 miles in our TS Pro, which is our mid model, is the range. In addition, we can use different kind of batteries, so-called low density batteries, that allows charging to be faster. So our charging is 35 minutes. But if you think about it, if you have 30% left and you want to top it up to 80%, it takes a little bit over 10 minutes to charge that, and that'll give you 100 miles. So you have the same experience like a regular motorcycles that, you have to stop someday, sometime, and, go to the restroom or have a coffee or just, stretch out a little bit. You can charge this during that time easily, like you would, fill up the gas tank.
All right. Well, thank you so much for delving into that. I thought that was fascinating, learning about how you approach the design of your motorcycles. Now, you talked about the TS Pro here. Can you give us a brief introduction to that model? You said it was kind of your mid-range one. Which types of customers are looking for this, for the TS Pro?
That's super interesting. And I think that that's also that when you look at that, we are fully electric motorcycles. So one of the things is that we have new entrants also, which not, the regular motorcycles for them is not appealing because they're difficult to ride. You have gears, you have clutch, you have all that kind of a stuff. And for some people, you smell like motorcycle after that. Some people like it, some people don't like it. So they're new entrants, kind of a blue ocean of two-wheelers interested in this kind of motorcycles. Because they know what the scooters are, they know what that kind of things are. They might have EV cars already, so they're very familiar of the EV, the whole architecture of that. So that's one of those, kind of people. And then you have people who have motorcycles and they kind of, again, they might have EV cars already, and they kind of are looking into this that, hey, I have multiple motorcycles, so maybe I would use this as a commuter because it's super nice to ride, or just have fun over the weekends. So it's kind of attracting pretty much everybody who's interested in motorcycles, but also people who are interested in getting into the two-wheeling.
Okay, excellent. And we all know that the power sports industry is always looking for new riders.
Yes.
All right. So what are the main selling points of the TS Pro?
The main selling points are that it is a super powerful bike. That's one of those things. It's a 0 to 60. It's 3.5 seconds. And then you have lots of torque. So there's a lot of power. So in TS Pro, there's a 737 foot-pound of torque, which is 10 times more in many other motorcycles, and it's pretty much like in the big trucks have that much torque. That might be scary for somebody, but we have different ride modes that we control that torque, so we're not throwing that to you when you accelerate. So it's kind of gradually coming, but it continues all the time. So when you need that, you have it. Also, one of the selling points is that because of the low center of gravity, it's super easy and fun to ride. So if you think about it, in the cities, it's easy. It doesn't weigh that much. It weighs 540 pounds, but because of the center of gravity is low, so it kind of feels like 450-pound bike. Okay, it is a big bike, but there's a lot more, heavier bikes out there. And then it's easy to ride. There's no gears from that perspective. So when you kind of think about that, it's only your wrist, and this is the only thing that you need in order to get this motorcycle going. From the maintenance perspective, it's super simple. because it's, electric motor, there's not really maintenance on that. And then there's batteries. So basically the only things that you have to maintain with this bike is make sure that you have enough, your brakes are working and changing the tires. And when you kind of think about this architecture too, that, batteries where the motor usually is, low center of gravity, and the motor in the back wheel. So there's no chains, there's no belts or anything to adjust either. There are 3 wires that are going directly to the motor, and we can control that motor in milliseconds. So when you think about traction control, regen braking, acceleration, so it's super accurate response what the rider gets when he or she is riding the bike.
Excellent. Now, we talked about how you just opened your first US stores in California, and in celebration, you have launched the TS Pro California edition. What's the difference between the California edition and the regular TS Pro?
Yes, so the California edition is based on the TS Pro. There are a few things that are different. It has the beautiful orange California poppy color, and the paint job is a little bit different. Also, the seat is a little bit different. Otherwise, it is exactly the same thing like the regular TS Pro from all the specs. But we wanted to have that since California is a big, great motorcycle market. So we wanted to have something that celebrates the California, when we're opening up these 2 stores to start with here. And the beautiful California poppy color, this orange color that is, fits here perfectly. If you coast, doing the coastal rides, or if you're doing the hills and the mountains and all that kind of stuff, you see California poppy, so, all around. And that's one of the things what we wanted to bring into the market.
I love that. I think that's a very apropos way, to mark your beginning in the US here.
Yeah. We like it too. So, and it says the California edition too.
So how does the TS Pro differ from the other models Verge offers, the TS and the TS Ultra?
So, so the TS is the entry model, and if you compare it to TS Pro, and TS Ultra, so it's a matter of how much power there is, and so the TS has 107 horsepower, TS Pro has 137 horsepower, and Ultra has 201 horsepower. Also, that there's performance of the acceleration. So the TS is 4.5 seconds to 0 to 60. The TS Pro is 3.5 seconds 0 to 60, and then the TS Ultra is 2.5 seconds to 0 to 60. But Ultra also has very interesting technology that we brought into. We introduced this bike, the TS Ultra, at the Consumer Electronics Show in January in Las Vegas. What we wanted to bring into the bike, the safety features. So that bike has 6 cameras and 2 radars. So 2 cameras on both sides, and that gives you 180 degrees view to the side. 1 camera in front, 1 camera in the back. So pretty much you can have a 360 view of surrounding of you. And then it has radar in the front and radar in the back. The reason to bring these in is that just like when you're looking into cars like Tesla and other cars where you put the blinker on, we show you in the display what's next to you. So of course we want you to turn your head to see, but it gives you an indication if there's a car or something next to you. And if it's too close, it gives you a warning. The same thing happens, and this is really important for the motorcycling, is that if somebody's approaching super fast from behind, the radar sees it first and gives you an alert, and then we have a full video showing, live video showing what's happening behind you, like a rear view mirror. from that perspective. That alerting you, giving you a warning that there's somebody approaching super fast, so you have to be careful. So those are the things that if you think about like autonomous cars, so we bring in the same technology to motorcycle, but we're not controlling the riding. The rider is, in control, but we show you what's happening around you. So that's a super cool feature that we think that will make the riding safer.
Absolutely. Safety is especially paramount on motorcycles. And, I think the fact that you're looking into the auto industry, which generally trends ahead of the power sports industry, and trying to bring that technology in, sooner rather than later, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, it is kind of, I mean, we are a technology company from that perspective. It just came out as a motorcycle, right? But so there's a lot of software in it, and how do we control different ride modes and all that kind of a stuff. But the same goes with the, updates. So we can do software updates when new features are coming into that, the rider wants it's coming to the bike. Then next morning when you leave, boom, it's updated. So that means a different kind of a new features that are coming out.
So, what are some of the most popular accessories for the TS Pro?
So that's a good question because there's not too many accessories. So all these TS models come with the Brembo brakes, the top of the line brakes, and it's a stock in there. All of them has a OZ front wheel. That's a stock item, and the disc for the brakes. And then when you're looking into the suspension, so you can choose either top of the line Öhlins or Wilbur's, which are more common in Europe. But they all come with that, so there's no extra, price for that. The only thing that you really do the customization is what kind of leather you want for the seat, and then the colors are all the same price, part of that. So you just choose what kind of a suspension you want, what kind of color, and then what kind of a seat leather you want, and that's it. Super simple. We wanted to have these high-end things like brakes and suspension there because it is a super bike and we want you to be safe and having the best possible riding experience.
Yeah, that does definitely make it simple. And you've kind of alluded to my next question here. So you talk about how customers can customize their bikes, when ordering online, or I assume in one of your stores there. So right now you guys are opening your own stores. Does Verge ever plan to utilize the traditional dealership model, or do you think you're going to stay the course?
At the moment, there's a lot of education what we want to do because EV bikes are not that common yet. And also tell about our story and share that with the potential customers and having that, and also getting the feedback. So it's super important for us directly to hear that. So that's one of the reasons that we're doing this. Of course, getting our brand out, there, to the consumers as well. But, never say never. We are looking into expand, so there might be different strategies coming up. But to start with, this is what we go at the moment.
All right, excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Pekka, and thank you so much for taking the time today to talk with us about the TS Pro.
Of course, and we are in Westfield Century City and Westfield Valley Fair, so come over and check it out, and we love to have a chat with you.
For more information about Verge Motorcycles and its line, head to vergemotorcycles.com. And as always, stay tuned to MPN for more of the latest and greatest in motorcycle and power sports news.